One of the main aims of GroCycle is to inspire more people to grow food, and there's no better way to get inspired than looking at how other amazing growers go about doing this. So in this video I want to shine a spotlight on people in our community of low-tech mushroom farmers, and let's have a look and see how they make their mushroom farm work. A few years back we set up one of the first online mushroom cultivation courses in the world, and it was with the simple aim of getting more people to grow mushrooms where they are. And since then a lot has happened, and there are people growing mushrooms all over the world now. So you can see on this slide image, it's a little bit dated, but it gives you an idea of where the community is growing. It's got hundreds of members in nearly 60 countries around the world, and in this video I want to shine a spotlight on some of these growers. So first up I want you to meet Mark, who joined in January of 2019. He's a great guy who you can see here on a morning bike ride with his parrot Mrs. Pinks. He's quite a character, and he set up Sustain a Shroom. It's a small urban farm in Perth in Western Australia, and the aim of this farm is food decentralization and a circular sustainable economy. So much like Adam and I did all those years back, he collects coffee and he uses that in grow kits. So let's have a look and see what that looks like. You can see he uses buckets, plastic buckets, which are recyclable in the sense that he offers a refill. So you can buy one of his kits for 25 Aussie dollars. It's got a deposit for the return, and then you can swap it in and you get a whole new bunch of substrate in a new bucket to grow at home. It's a 4-litre bucket, and you can take it home and then you grow your own mushrooms there at home. So you get the benefit of tasting the freshest mushrooms you can possibly taste at home. It's also a great way to avoid single-use plastic. He mentioned to me that he can make a living out of these, which is obviously awesome, and he uses Facebook Marketplace to make this work. He sells mainly in the suburb of Innaloo in Perth, so if you happen to be in that area, then I'd recommend looking him up and see if you can get some of those fresh mushrooms grown at your place. Mark told me that growing food from waste diversion is what started this, but I found the mycology side fascinating, and that's a common theme. It just happens when people get into mushroom growing, they just find all of the intricacies, the detail of which there's a lot of detail behind this. They find that really interesting, and it's almost like you get bitten by a bug. You want to find out more and grow more mushrooms. Mark is now planning to grow microgreens as well, much like we do at the farm here. So we grow mushrooms as well as microgreens, and they complement each other a lot. We actually did a video about that, so check out a video on our channel about this if you're interested to find out more. So then it's over to the US to look at a farm called Phenomenal Funghi. You can see their logo here. It's not just about growing gourmet mushrooms, it's also about functional mushrooms, by which they mean mushroom tinctures, medicinal mushrooms. I'll get back to that later on. This farm is located in Asheville, North Carolina, and the growers here are David Cougar Eberhard, so Cougar is his preferred name, and then Shannon Barrett. The two people are passionate about the planet, travel and mushrooms, and that's a very common thread amongst the community. There's a lot of people who come at growing mushrooms on a small scale just to make the planet that little bit better, and that's awesome. So as you can see on this slide, it's not a very large farm. They produce about 20 pounds of mushrooms, which is, for those people thinking in kilograms, it's around 9 kilograms a week. And it's mainly oysters. So you can see there they've got a really nice tent set up. It's really easy to grow in a hydroponics tent because it's got all the ports and ducting. It's a really good way to set up a fruiting room with minimal fuss. And you can see there's the oyster crop. It's highlighted in the little picture, and then they've got a simple incubation room on the right there. Depending on the season, they sometimes also grow lion's mane and chestnut mushrooms, and they just both look amazing. They're expanding, getting ready to add a second 10 by 10 feet fruiting tent, so they can also start cultivating cordyceps and reishi. And why they do that is clear. It's just for the tinctures that they also sell. But let's first look at the fresh mushrooms and see what they do with that. So here you can see the two growers. There's Shannon on the left and Cougar on the right, and they sell their fresh mushrooms at local festivals and also at farmers markets the start of this year, so we're in 2020 now. And on top of that, they're talking to some restaurants in their area who might want to buy their mushrooms, and I'm sure there's going to be buyers for that, simply because fresh mushrooms are just chefs love them because it's just a different experience basically from mushrooms that would have travelled from far and far afield. So that's the fresh mushroom side of things. You can see there in the top right, that's the market stall for, I think, mainly the tinctures, and they've got some books on there, but they're also, you can see they've got a kit there, they've got some fresh mushrooms, and in my experience, when you're at a market trying to sell mushrooms, if you can have them actually growing there, you get an awesome reaction from people who pass your stall. It really catches their eye. Anyways, on to what they do with the medicinal tinctures. Let's have a look. So Cougar is one of those growers who really likes to get into the tech side of things. He's got his lab here on the left. You can see that there's effectively a clean room in which he does a lot of his propagation of spawn. He designed his own in the middle there, that's called a laminar flow hood, and he's designed those. He actually sells those as well, so he makes them himself. And yeah, he really likes to get into the techie side of things. It's not at all, I hasten to add, it's not at all necessary when you want to grow mushrooms on a small scale where you are. You can make it as low tech as we prefer to do, and you don't need a lab or any of those sterile conditions. You don't need the sterile techniques, which can be quite complicated. But some people, and Cougar is definitely one of those, some people just absolutely love to get into that level of detail. Like I said, not necessary at all. So on the right there, there's lion's manes that they've grown, that he's grown himself, and that's what they do. So in addition to the fresh mushrooms, they want to grow, or they actually do grow, some medicinal mushrooms, and they use those in double extracted mushroom tinctures. And those tinctures are made from their mushrooms as well as sustainably sourced wild mushrooms. And tinctures are a convenient way to add the health benefits from the unique compounds that are found in many, many mushrooms. And we actually did a separate video on that, Adam and I, when we made a tincture ourselves. And I've got the bottle here on my desk, so it's a really easy way to incorporate those benefits into your daily life. And yes, so obviously if you want to try that yourself, then there's a video that can help you. If you want to, obviously in the States, you might as well just buy it from Phenomenal Funghi. There's a load of lovely tinctures they've got. So this is how they make their small mushroom farm work. And that's just awesome to see. So they're benefiting the local community by offering fresh mushrooms, and then obviously they can go further afield with these tinctures, which have got many health benefits for people. So a farm that's slightly larger, so just to remind you, the Phenomenal Funghi was sort of 9 kilograms per week. The next farm here, it's run by Phil Labrie, who's in Australia. You can see him with his family here. It's called Fairy Mound Fine Foods, and the farm is a cattle farm. So he's got a beef cattle property about 3 hours west of Brisbane. And at this property, all of his beef, all of the animals are raised without added hormones, reliance on chemicals, and they graze native and on improved pastures. It's a really, really lovely setup. It's near the little town of Jandaway. And he started growing mushrooms as a second income stream during an ongoing drought. So it's probably not the best environment to grow mushrooms in, it being hot and dry, but he's installed a solar power system, and he's doing really well with that. So let's have a look at that in more detail. So this is what it looks like. He's got a bit of a snapshot there. Phil, he has a fruiting room that's only 17 square meters. It's 2.6 meters high, so it's quite tall. It's constructed out of second-hand cold room paneling, which is ideal because it's got good insulation properties, of course. And he picked that up cheaply from Gumtree, and that's also awesome because you just reuse stuff that otherwise would go to waste. In this small space, technically he can produce 75 kilograms of mushrooms, but realistically he likes to grow 50 kilograms of mushrooms, and he sells those through an organic wholesaler and then also on the farmers markets as well as direct to restaurants. Now another thing that I just wanted to point out to you, and that's pretty cool, is that Phil is only one of 2 growers in Australia that's got organic certification. So that's pretty amazing, and he's obviously making this work as a second income stream to his farm, and that could be the same for many other people who grow crops, be it a market garden or anything else. Mushrooms are typically pretty good to integrate because you can grow them indoors, you can manage the work streams quite well. So then the next farm, closer to home, it's Peak District Mushroom Farm. It's a small production of about 10 kilograms a week of oyster and shiitake, and these people sell directly to the local restaurants. The people who run this farm, John and Samantha, they joined the community, the growing community, low-tech mushroom farming community, in January of 2018. So both of them are really passionate about local, small-scale food growing. As I mentioned, that's a very common theme. So if you are passionate about that too, then you should consider growing mushrooms where you are, because often there's just no local mushroom grower there. So John and Samantha had long careers in engineering and nursing, and then they wanted a complete change. And they saw GroCycle, they saw Adam and I on a feature on the BBC's Country File, and then they found our online courses and the community, and they just said to me that that made our transition a lot easier, because there's a lot of support available then, and obviously you get taken by the hands. So happy growers at the Peak District. It's located right in the heart of the Peak District National Park, by the way, and the farm is run by John and Samantha, as I already mentioned, and you can see Samantha on the left here is a happy grower. It's got lovely oyster mushrooms there. You can see some lovely pink ones in the middle, and again there on the right, it looks like they've got a hydroponics tent in place. Those columns look very familiar. It's a picture that actually could have been taken here at the farm. So Samantha does most of the growing, has plans to start a commercial kitchen in their converted garage, and she wants to develop mushroom recipes and a range of mushroom food products. And why not? I mean, it's such a growing market, especially with people shifting their diet away from meat, a meat-based diet, more to a veg, and mushrooms have got a massive role to play in that. So I can't wait to put my order in when Samantha's got something ready to go. Small scale mushroom farm, that's working for the people who run it. So last but certainly not least, let's meet Glenn and Anthea, who run Woodland Gourmet Mushroom Farm. And the mushroom farm is based in the Malawi Gourmet region in northeastern Victoria in Australia. And they joined this community back in October 2017, and it's been amazing to see their progress. They've come across a few roadblocks, but with our help and with their persistence, they've just crossed those all, and now they're just growing fresh mushrooms where they are, which is 40 kilometers from anywhere of much size, Glenn mentioned to me. So at the moment they produce about 15 kilograms of oyster mushrooms a week. They supply those to local restaurants as well as on the farmers markets, and I'm sure that the restaurants and the consumers on the market are over the moon with these fresh mushrooms. On top of that, they also sell grow kits. Let's have a look at their market stall here. So there you can see Glenn and Anthea happy selling their wares on the local farmers markets. You can see the buckets there as well as the fresh mushrooms, and it just looks amazing. Let's have a look at their setup in a bit closer detail now. So Glenn buys grain spawn in, and then he multiplies that by a factor of 10. So doing the grain to grain is extra work, he says, but they enjoy that side of things. So it's a bit like Cougar. He just enjoys getting into the more techie side of things. And again, I'd like to add that you don't need to do that. You can just grow it with grain spawn that you buy in, and you can make it work that way. But obviously people, like as is evident in this video, people do things in their own way and make it work in their own way. So what he does then is he grows on locally grown wheat straw that he cold lime pasteurizes, and then he puts them in 3 to 3.5 kilogram bags, which you can see in the fruiting room there. You can see the fresh air supply, nice level of humidity, and then on the bottom right there you can see the amazing oyster mushroom crops. One of the other aims that they've got, on top of just growing the fresh mushrooms, is to again go into value-added products besides the grow kits that they already offer. He said there's been a few hiccups along the way, like 41 degrees Celsius summer days that wiped us out last summer, so that would have been in 2018, and it cooked everything, but it didn't stop Glenn, and that's why I wanted to mention him in this video, because normally you wouldn't choose to grow mushrooms in temperatures like that, because it is quite that's quite a high temperature, so you'd have to invest in climate controlled environment. And that's exactly what he did, but in such a way that I haven't seen any other growers do that. So he didn't let it stop him. They rethought, they researched it, and then took a huge gulp, and he put in 2 lines of 200 feet long earth tubes, and you can see them here in the picture there on the left. They're amazing. So it's at a depth of 6 feet, and what it means for him is that even with 41 degrees Celsius, days in Australia, he can have a steady 21 to 22 degrees Celsius temperature in the fruiting room. And obviously you can see what that looks like in the Facebook post there on the right. He's over the moon. Earth tubes, how cool. 41C on the veranda, 25C in the main shed, and then 21C in the fruiting room, which is really, really perfect to grow oyster mushrooms in. So it's amazing. I didn't want to hold that from you. A really great example of how to grow mushrooms where you are, regardless of what the conditions are. So right, that's it. I hope you found that very useful to look at these different farms, how different farmers make it work where they are. And if you want to find out more about the courses, then please check the links below this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get all of our new videos. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.